Hello and welcome back to CADVent 2024, 24 days of festive designs in Autodesk Fusion. My name is Elizabeth Bishop and you can find me on my social medias at 3dbish. For day 18, we are designing these custom napkin rings that you can use for your Christmas day. The idea being we design a little interchangeable tree that you can pop in and place into the napkin ring and just push fit that in, and then you can have these as little customizable table decorations for your Christmas day. And then if you want, you could design something different to go with the napkin ring. So let's jump into Fusion and get started. So jumping into Fusion, let's get started. So I'm going to start off by creating a new component, and this is going to be called Napkin Ring. I'm going to start off with a sketch, and this sketch is going to be on the XY plane. I'm going to use the polygon tool, so that top one, and just drag that out. And I want that distance to be 20, and I want the number of sides to be 8 in this case. I'm just going to add a horizontal and vertical constraint to that top there, just to give us a fully defined sketch to start working with. I'm going to use the offset tool and do a 1mm external offset, and we'll come back to using that in a moment. Then going to do a second offset, an internal one of -1.6mm. And I want this one to be a construction line. So changing that line type over to construction and clicking OK. If you forgot to do that, you can select all the lines and then change them to construction afterwards. Adding in a circle, turning off that construction and bringing that up to the outer of the octagon that I have there. Then going to finish that sketch and add in a new sketch on the XZ plane. So selecting that plane and drawing a line. So I want to draw a line and I want the distance of that line to be 20mm. I'm then going to use a midpoint constraint, that's the triangle, to the origin point, just to fully define that sketch. And you also want to make sure you added that horizontal vertical constraint. If you didn't quite get yours at 90 degrees, you can add that in using this constraint tool up here. Once you've done that, click Finish Sketch. I'm then going to create a sweep. So create and sweep. I want to select that inner profile, so the hex with the circular interior. And the path for that is going to be that second sketch there. Now to make this look quite pretty, I'm going to add in a twist angle of 45 divided by 2. So that there is a very basic napkin ring, and you could print this off at this stage if you wanted to. However, we can make it a bit better than this. So I'm now going to create an extrude using that first sketch that we did. So I want to select both of the profiles. So you can hide the body to do this. So selecting both profiles, and I want to do a symmetric design. I want to use whole length and I want to do 3mm, but I don't want to cut this. I want to join it to this object. And the reason we select both profiles is because in some areas with that twist on the sweep, we would end up with some gaps. And then going to go in and bevel the edges. So modify and chamfer. And I want to grab all 16 of the edges around the hexagon, around the octagon even, that we've just extruded. So I don't want that one. Start that again. So grab all of those edges around the octagon extrusion that we have just created. So you should end up with 16 of these once you have selected each one around there. So I've got 16 and I want that to be a chamfer of 0.5mm. And you can just see that that bevels all of those edges on the design. Going back to the home view, I'm going to create a sketch on that front octagon edge there, and I'm going to use the ellipse tool. So create and then ellipse, grab that origin, just drag your mouse outwards, and the first dimension is going to be 8mm. I'm going to click once and then just move my mouse down and enter a dimension of 4 there, and this gives you a fully constrained ellipse. finish that sketch and I'm going to create an extrude. So I'm going to make sure I've got all 3 of those profiles of the ellipse and just drag that through to make sure I'm cutting all the way through the part. So 4 or 5 millimeters should do that for you. Clicking OK. I then want to add in a couple of chamfers and fillets just to smooth off those edges. So create a chamfer, and this one is going to be 0.2 millimeters there. And then I want to fillet these inside edges. So create fillet, and I just want to make sure I click each one of these. And you want to make sure we've got tangent chain ticked in the option for fillets here. So coming all the way round, making sure we get each one of these edges. So you should have 12 in total. And that again is going to be a 0.2 millimeter fillet. And just have a check of that and check you're happy with it before you click OK. So that there is that fillet, which just smooths off the edge, which will help with the insertion of the customized tree piece that we're going to put in. The last thing to do for the napkin ring is to make sure we add in one final chamfer, and that's going to be this top edge and the same corresponding side on the bottom, and a 1 millimeter chamfer for that. And that just gives it a nice internal slot there for popping the napkin through the ring. And that there is the napkin ring. We're now going to move on to the customizable section of this design. So activating my top level component, I'm going to click new component. And these, I'm just going to call these tree letters. Entirely up to you what you call this part. I'm going to do a Christmas tree design, but watch this through and you could come up with a different design. The key bit is to do this customizable section here, so we can pop initials or a small name on there if you want to. So I'm going to create an offset plane. So construct an offset plane, and that's going to be from our XZ plane, and this is going to be out -22 millimeters, and that's just off the front, and this is going to give me a basis to start the design for the customizable piece. So I'm going to create a sketch on that new construction plane here, and this here is going to be the tree design. So I'm just going to get started. I'm going to give myself a basic outline of the tree to get started, and then I'll add in the dimensions. So I want the overall height of the tree to be 35 millimeters. I know that I want the bottom of the tree to this point to be 15 millimeters. And this is the area where you're going to put your text, which is why I don't want, why it's sort of not centered around that point there. From here to here is going to be 12.5 millimeters. From here to here is going to be 11 millimeters. I just want to make sure that line is coincident with the origin, so around that area there. Going to make this one 2.5 millimeters, and this one is going to be 4 millimeters. You can see we're starting to define this sketch here. I'm going to make the overall size of the tree 16.5 there. And then I'm going to make these two lines parallel using a parallel constraint. So I've selected both, and then I'm going to click parallel. And what else? So I also want those two lines to be equal length as well. So selecting both and then saying equal. And that there is a fully defined sketch that you can use for your Christmas tree. So I'll just reposition the labels, and you can use those to set your dimensions if you're doing the same design as me. Once you've got that, you can click Finish Sketch, and I'm going to do an extrude of that. And I want the extrude to go in this direction, -1.5 millimeters, to give that object there. I'm then going to create a mirror. Now you could have mirrored in the sketch, but it's always better to mirror your objects. And the mirror plane is going to be the center of that. And I want the operation to be join. So it creates one joined component there. I'm then going to add fillets to each of these. So add and then fillet, and I'm going to do each of the points of the tree. So should end up with 7 edges on this operation. Clicking each of those, and they're going to be 0.5 millimeters, just to kind of create a rounded tree shape there. Now, I want to make the connection piece that's going to insert into the napkin ring. So I'm going to create a new sketch on the back plane of this, and I'm going to project through the inside of that ring of the napkin. So the inside of the hole of the napkin. So I'm going to do that edge and that edge on the, so they're the internal edge before the chamfer on the napkin ring, and click OK. And then going to turn off the napkin ring visibility such that I can work with this sketch. Going to use the offset tool of that, and I want my offset to be my 0.2 millimeters inwards from that edge. So just the purple line is the projected line, and I want an offset of 0.2 millimeters. I'm then going to extrude that smaller profile out, and I want to extrude it 4.4 millimeters. Now you could turn on the napkin ring to make sure you are going far enough into the design. Now, to make sure this isn't too tight going into the design, I'm going to add a negative taper angle of 1.5 degrees, and you can see which way that's going. So I definitely want to go inwards is a negative, and I want to go negative 1.5 degrees for that taper angle. And I want my operation to be joined there. And that's just going to give us a little bit of clearance when we're inserting this part into the napkin ring for that. And then I want to add a fillet to the edge of there just to round it off, and that's going to be a 0.2 millimeter fillet. Now I'm going to turn off the napkin ring again, just so I'm working on just this design. So I want to add in my customization here, and this is what you can choose what you want to do here. So I'm going to create a sketch on the front plane, and I'm going to use the text tool, and I'm just going to create text and then just draw the square where I want it to be. Now I want to make sure that I'm not extruding over the insert piece, so I'm actually going to use project first. So I've got that text there. I'm just going to click cancel. I'm going to project, and I'm going to select that bottom line of the part there and just project that through to my sketch. So I want to make sure any text I do does not overlap or go above that part where I've got the connection piece. So let's try that again. So create text, and I'm just going to draw the box there, and I'm just going to put a letter E, but you could customize that for whoever you've got coming for Christmas dinner. And make it as big as you can without going too near the edge of the design. I'm just going to center that up. Now you're not going to be able to fit too many letters in here, but you could do a couple of initials, maybe a really short name there. And I'm going to click finish sketch with that one. I'm going to extrude my text through. I'm going to go extend to object and click the back. And the operation there is going to be a cut, which gives me a nice letter E inside, so cutting through the design for this. And that really there is our customizable napkin ring. I'm going to add in a couple of appearances. So A on the keyboard is my shortcut for appearance. I'm going to add gold for the napkin ring, and then I'm going to add in a green. So I'll use plastic matte green for the tree there. And you can customize this based on who you've got coming to dinner. You could use them as place cards for your design. All you've got left to do is export your STL files, load them up into your 3D printer and print them out. So let me know in the comments if you've got any questions, if I can help you with anything. If you've got any ideas of what you'd like me to do for the rest of CADVent, we've got a few more days left in the lead up to Christmas. If you've liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video for the rest of CADVent 2024.